So I hope that has been really helpful for you, these setup tips for January. Remember your odometer, get a mileage app, download a mileage app and start tracking your mileage this year. Get a place for your tax collection to collect your tax documents, your receipts. Make sure you finish your bookkeeping. And then by the end of January, your last task before midnight on January 31st is you have to send out those 1099s that you owe to any contractors you paid. And that's it. That's your January. Welcome to the Sunlight Podcast. In this show, we're talking about taxes, money, and careers for creative people who have a big vision for changing the world with their work. I'm your host, Hannah Cole, artist, tax pro, and the founder of Sunlight Tax. If you're an artist, designer, or creative entrepreneur who wants to grow your business sustainably, manage your taxes, and build a stash of fuck you money so you can control your own time and have a bigger impact with your work, you are in the right place. Hey, welcome to the Sunlight Podcast today. Today, I want to talk to you about some tips for getting set up for the year in January. So January is a really big month when it comes to your taxes and your overall year-round financial health, especially your tax health. I maybe just made up that phrase, but it's true. There's certain systems that are pretty basic that you need in place just to have things go smoothly when it comes to your tax setup for the year. And then that leads into your bookkeeping, your tracking, etc. Okay, so I want to give you a really short, practical episode today about how to set up for your best possible tax year. All right, let's get started. So first, your odometer. So this is something, just a quick takeaway you can have today is that you want to track your mileage for the year. Mileage is a huge tax deduction for anybody who works for themselves, right? But the IRS rule is really clear that, the IRS knows that your car, you're probably not driving a dedicated car that is only used for your business, right? Most of us who are self-employed, we have a car that we use to get around, buy groceries, visit friends, do personal stuff, but we also use it for business, right? It's a mixed use item. So for that reason, you are required, anyone with business mileage is required to track your mileage for the year. And the point of that is to say, these miles are the ones that are deductible. These ones are the ones that are not. And I know the difference. That's why you have to track your mileage and keep a log. Okay, but it's not as hard as you think. I think a lot of people don't do it because they think it sounds like such a pain in the ass. And believe me, it used to be. When I first started tracking mileage in 2005, because I had my first big residency out west as an artist, that was a real serious pain in the ass. I had a little notebook I kept in my glove box, and I, by hand with a pencil, would just write down the number on the odometer whenever I did a business trip. Yeah, that was seriously a pain in the butt. And I forgot stuff all the time. It was a very flawed system. I mean, it worked and I used it, but there weren't apps at that time. The cool thing for you now is there are apps. So this can be so easy. Okay, so first, you want to get your mileage tracking set up for the current tax year, for 2023, right? So you want to set up for moving forward. There's lots of mileage apps out there. You can absolutely do your own research. You may find one you prefer. I know the QuickBooks one tends to drain people's batteries, is what I'm told. The one I use and I really like is called Mile IQ. There's others out there. I'm not saying this is the only one, but if you're interested in that, I do have a discount code with Mile IQ, and you are welcome to use it. Gets you 20% off if you use their Pro plan. So the code there is HCOL124A. That gets you 20% off. I'll leave that code in the show notes today. So I do recommend Mile IQ, but use whatever you like. Okay, so set up mileage tracking for the current tax year. Now, what you also want to do, and I recommend setting a little calendar alarm for yourself every single year around the 1st of January. You want to just go out to your car right this minute and just snap a little picture of your odometer. Just record what your odometer says today. Okay. We're as close to January 1st as you're ever going to get this year, right? So do it now if you haven't done it already on January 1st. And what does that do? So, what that does for you is it gives you an ending mileage for the year that just ended. And it also gives you a beginning mileage for tax year 2023. So, that's really important. And you want to make sure you do that. Also, a little pro tip if you, by any chance, change cars this year, if you sell this car, if you buy a new one, maybe you're going to take advantage of that new awesome tax credit for buying a clean vehicle. When you sell your car, that's another moment where you want to make sure you snap a picture, record the odometer before you sell it, because once you sell it and it's in somebody else's hands, it's going to be really hard to find that what that odometer reading was and get that final mileage for yourself. And of course, when you buy a new car, you want to track the new odometer and where that started as well. So sometimes that gives you a second time that you have to record it in the year. Otherwise, if you're driving the same car, you can just do this once a year around January 1st. And that's all you need for the last year's mileage and to start this year's mileage. So set up an app, record your odometer, set your calendar alarm for every single year to record the odometer, and you're all set with the mileage. All right, next, tax collection. So this is the month of the year when your tax documents are going to start coming in. So 1099s are due to be sent out by January 31st. If you paid any contractors over $600 throughout the course of the year for your business, then you owe them 1099s, and you should know that you have to issue those 1099s by January 31st. Otherwise, you're going to have penalties and interest that accrues every single day until you get your act together and send those out. So very important. And of course, your 1099s that people owe you, those are going to start coming in the door. So something I recommend to my clients is have a plan. Have a plan for your tax documents, okay? This can be so stupid simple, all right? All you need to do really is just pick the drawer in your desk that you're going to toss those documents into, or create a new file, like hanging file folder, and put it in the front of your files. Okay, that's it. You need a paper collection area that you're going to reliably put those documents in. You don't want to miss a tax document. That is a big deal and creates a lot of hassle and headache for you. Now, that settles it for the for the physical mail that you will get, which a lot of them will be, but you're also going to get some of your documents electronically. So you want to do the same thing in your inbox. So in your inbox, I recommend just creating a folder, in Gmail, Outlook, whatever you use. Create a folder for your 2022 tax documents, okay? And then when you get those email notifications that one is available, just put it into that folder. You don't have to open it and deal with it today. I mean, it's good to take a look and see if there's a mistake, because it's a lot easier to correct a mistake at this time of year than it is on March 29th, when the tax deadline is breathing down your neck and there's no time to issue a corrected 1099. So take a look, make sure there's no mistakes, but just all you really need to do is file it in a folder in your email where you can find it again once you are doing your taxes. Okay. Pretty easy system. Secondly, you want a receipt collection system. Now, this is for the current year moving forward, right? So you want a place to store your receipts for tax year 2023. Okay. This is just one system that you need. Receipts are something, all you need to do is store them. It's not a big deal, but it is mandatory. So it's not hard, but it is mandatory. Okay. So again, just very similarly to your tax documents, I just want you to have a physical collection place. So for physical receipts, which you probably don't get that many of anymore, just create a hanging file folder for physical receipts. And you also want to have a digital folder for receipts. So similar to what I said for tax document, you want to create a folder in your inbox for, tax receipts 2023, right? So hopefully you had this last year, but moving forward for 2023, you're now going to be getting new ones for the new tax year, and you want to stay organized for this tax year. So create that folder inside your inbox. Pretty simple. Doesn't really take very much. I will also say, here's a pro tip when it comes to tracking your receipts. Tax audits come by year. So when if the IRS sends you a letter and says like, hey, we would like to see all your meals and mileage receipts for, tax year 2019, right? They will name the year that they're looking for. And this is why keeping your receipts separated out by year becomes very valuable to you, because what's the worst possible scenario? That you just throw all of your receipts into one place, one shoebox, one file folder, willy-nilly. If you just do this very minor adjustment and just do it by year, so go ahead and throw them in, but only to the folder marked 2023, then if you should get audited for a particular year, you just pull that folder out, and those are the only receipts you have to actually look at or scan. Okay. Same with your inbox, though at least email comes to you chronologically. So that makes that task a little easier. So that's receipts. We did tax documents. We did mileage. Let's talk about bookkeeping. Now, bookkeeping is kind of the big one. It's a big component of what I teach inside my program, Money Bootcamp, because, bookkeeping is kind of a heavier lift. So bookkeeping is important. And of course, you need it to be done in order to start doing your taxes. You also need it to be done in order to issue 1099s if you're going to be issuing 1099s. So that is very critical. Remember, your 1099s must be mailed out by January 31st. So you really do need to get your bookkeeping done this month. That is urgent, especially if you paid contractors. All right, so I'm going to encourage you to do what you can. I always say, try to make this as pleasant as you can. I really like incentive bundling when it comes to doing things that you don't love doing. So when you do your bookkeeping, I always recommend clean your desk, do it at a time when the kids are out of the house, where you can get some quiet time and some space, put on your favorite music, light a candle, make yourself a really delicious cup of coffee, whatever it is that kind of makes it feel a little bit special and nice to you. What's interesting is there's really good research that says that when you do those little pleasant things alongside a task you don't love, you come to enjoy the task more. And I'll say from experience, I know that to be true. So get your bookkeeping done. And lastly, your 1099s. So I've of course already said this, but it's really, really important for you to know that one of your tax obligations, and this is probably a big one if you work for yourself, is issuing 1099s that you owe to other people. So what does that mean? Now, last week I did a whole episode on 1099, so please go review that. I hope it is really, really helpful for you. It's pretty nuts and bolts. But the basic rules are, if you paid anyone for your business, not personal stuff, but for your business, if you paid anyone over $600 cumulatively over the course of the last tax year, you have to issue them a 1099. Now, there are some little nitty-gritty exceptions to this, and please refer to the last episode to understand what those exceptions are. But this is really important. Your deadline from the IRS to issue the 1099s you owe is January 31st. That deadline does not flex. It does not move for you because you didn't know the rule, because you didn't have your bookkeeping done. There's no forgiveness on this. So it's very important that you get that bookkeeping done. Set aside some time this week, I recommend, if you haven't gotten to it yet, and figure out, what you've paid to contractors over the course of the last year so that you know who you're going to owe a 1099 to. So I have something for you. If you need help with 1099s, if you're listening to me say that and you're kind of freaking out or feeling it in your gut, I just want to say I'm here for you. I am putting on a live workshop on 1099s that is available and open to the public that I'm doing on Tuesday. I believe that's today, the day that this podcast comes out. So if you're listening to this right when the podcast drops, if you're one of those loyal listeners, then you still have time to register for that class. You can do that at courses.sunlighttax.com/1099. So you can go ahead and sign up for that course. There's a fee for the course. It's a paid course. It's a workshop. I will be there. I'll be teaching for the first half, and I will be answering your questions for the second half. And my fellow tax advisor who works here at Sunlight Tax, Orion, is going to be with me so that we have double manpower for answering all the questions, because I do think there's going to be a lot of them. I know a lot of you get confused about 1099s. And if you are listening to this class in the future, after that live class has happened, you can go to that same link, courses.sunlighttax.com/1099, and you can get the recording of this class. We're going to get that up as fast as we can today so that you can access that quickly, because that deadline is in a week. We want to make sure you make it in and you get your documents sent out on time. So the other thing I want to just let you know about that course is in the past, I have only done my live courses. I've only made them available to people in my program, Money Bootcamp. But this one I've decided to just open up to anyone. So this is kind of an experiment I'm doing. I'm just doing more one-off courses so that, if you're kind of new to my world and you kind of want to test it out before you make any big commitments, that you can. So if you need to do 1099s, if you're looking for this info, if you've got a bunch of questions and you know that you need that live Q&A, and if you want that kind of hand-holding step-by-step walkthrough with me, then come sign up for the class. And what I want you to know is that when you register and pay for the class, you'll get a coupon right there in the confirmation for the price of the class as a discount off of Money Bootcamp. So this is a way that without any risk, you can just kind of try out one class. And then if you like it and you're like, oh yeah, I totally like learning from her. I feel like she gets me, she sees me, she understands, to keep this as simple as possible. I'm not trying to become a tax weenie. I'm just like, want to get it done. Once you kind of come and see that, it's kind of a way for you to test it out before joining Money Bootcamp, if that interests you. So if you do decide in the next month to join Money Bootcamp, basically the 1099s class will become free for you with that coupon. And of course, if you're listening to this and you're in Money Bootcamp, don't worry, you're getting that link automatically. You're already in the program. You're going to get access to that workshop for free. So I hope that is helpful for all of you. And of course, if you want larger, deeper support, if you want the full shebang on, setting up your bookkeeping, setting up your tax systems, setting up your FU money saving system, then of course you can always register for my free class where I teach you some of the principles in my program. And then there's a opportunity to join it there. You can do that at go.sunlighttax.com/register. And that is how you can actually join Money Bootcamp if you feel that now is the time and the time is right for you. So I hope that has been really helpful for you, these setup tips for January. Remember your odometer, get a mileage app, download a mileage app and start tracking your mileage this year. Get a place for your tax collection to collect your tax documents, your receipts. Make sure you finish your bookkeeping. And then by the end of January, your last task before midnight on January 31st is you have to send out those 1099s that you owe to any contractors you paid. And that's it. That's your January. If you do all of that stuff, huge congratulations to you. You are officially on top of it. And I hope I've helped you get there. All right. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, leave a review. It really helps, and share it with a friend. I'm so grateful. This podcast is for education and entertainment only. Nothing in this episode should be taken as individual tax or financial advice. You can find all the tools, books, and links we reference at sunlighttax.com/podcast.